Hello. Today you guys get to watch me do an experiment. I'm going to see if I can make a modern version of Regency short stays um, that are lightweight enough and comfortable enough to wear under modern clothes. And I'm going to do it without a pattern. So here are my calculations. I want the underbust to fit very tight, so that'll basically be the bottom band of my stays slash bra. So I measured very tight under my bust and got 31 and a half, and I'm going to divide that by two because I'm going to cut a left side and a right side. Okay, so there's my 15.75, which is half of 31 and a half. And then I'm adding 1 inch at the center front. That's basically what I'm going to fold over to enclose my busk. And then 2 inches at the center back so I can fold over twice where I'm going to put my lacing. And then I want them 7 inches long. And then I added 1 inch total, half an inch on the top, half an inch on the bottom for seam allowance. So I'm going to cut it 18.75 wide and 8 long. And I've pre-washed my muslin. I'm using muslin because I do want this to be lightweight as opposed to corset couture. So I'm using muslin, which I have pre-washed and thrown in the dryer so it'll shrink as much as possible. And I pressed it, although you can still see it's got a little bit of crinkle just kind of there. And I've folded it so the selvages are exactly together. Exactly together. You really want your grain line to be straight, and I'm going to cut this so that the selvages are going to be center front, because that way I don't have to fold over the seam allowance double if I don't want to. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do single or double. I think I'm going to do single because I think it'll lie flatter. So that's going to be center front, and then where I cut to is going to be center back, because that one I know for sure I'm folding twice to strengthen my grommets. So I'm going to be cutting my rectangle here. That'll leave extra fabric here. By the way, this is about a half a yard. So I'll have extra fabric up here that I can use to cut bias if I feel like I need it, which I think I probably will. And then I'm also going to use ribbon to be my bone casing. Also, I could use bone casing, but it's pretty chunky, and I want this to lie as flat as possible. So for this time, because it's an experiment, I'm doing cheap ribbon. The next time I do it, I'm probably going to do a really nice linen ribbon. Um, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how my cheap ribbon does. Even though it's synthetic, it may not be strong enough to hold the boning, and I'm going to have to sort of rethink that. But again, this is an experiment to see if it's even going to work. So let's get started. All right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to trim my bottom edge so that it's straight on the grain. Probably could have torn this too, but it's too lazy to yank the threads back and press it again. All right, so now I have an exact right angle on my selvage edge and my bottom edge. So now I'm going to go 18 3/4 across, which is the measurement I came up with of half my underbust measured tight, and adding my seam allowance. And I'm going to go 8 inches up. 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to right about here. Let's go 8 inches up here. That's right there. Measure straight across. And you'll notice I'm using pencil. I just like plain pencil on muslin. Makes it easy. All right, so I've got, let me just double check. I've got, whoa, good thing I double checked. I forgot to add the other inch on the other end. Measure twice, cut once. There we go. All right, so now I've got 18 3/4 by 8 inches, which is just what I wanted. So let's cut that. See what that mistake I made. I now have a handy fold line at 1 inch for my center back. All right, and I'm gonna mark center front there just for fun. So here's my leftover that I can make bias out of later. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is press my seam allowance over at the center front about 1/2 inch, because the first thing we're going to do is install our busk. So your busk should be 1 inch shorter than the length of your corset. All right, so in pressing my center front edges over, I realized that it will work to just press it over on the button side, but I actually need to put a facing on for the loop side. So I've cut another little piece of muslin that will be my facing. I'm gonna make this 2 inches. Just for fun, that'll give me enough to play with. Doesn't need to be big. So I've got one side folded over, that's for the button side. For this side, I'm gonna sew my facing on at a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Then I'm going to fold this end under so that I can flip it and create a casing for this. But when I sew this on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where my busk buttons or loops are going to be. Let's get it absolutely centered. There we go, it's centered now. And I'm marking on either side of the busk loop because I'm going to stop sewing in between these little marks. Here, let me get you in closer. Okay, see my little marks here? I'm going to sew and then not sew in between these two marks and then sew and then not sew, because that will leave an opening that the loop of the busk can get through. I just realized it might actually be helpful for you guys to see me sew this. So I've sewn the first section. I stopped at my mark, and I haven't even cut my threads. I'm just, picking up my needle and my press foot and moving to the next mark. So let's get my needle down right on that point. I'm going to go 2 stitches forward and 2 stitches back. That's going to lock that in. Now I'm going to sew up to my next mark. Get right on that little point right there. 2 stitches back, 2 stitches forward. One more. Come on, give me one more. Good. I'm going to lift my needle, lift my presser foot, and move to the next mark. Get my needle down right on that point, right there. 2 stitches forward, 2 back, and then sew up to the next mark. Can't see where it is, so one more stitch. Okay, 2 stitches back. All right, 3, fine. Lift my needle and my presser foot, move to the next mark. Now I can do my back tack. Ooh, I missed that one. There we go. And go all the way to the end and do a nice back tack here. I'm going to go press this open, then I'll meet you back at the table and show you what I did. I've sewn the facing on the loop side of the center front, and you can see that I've pressed my seam allowance open, and I've also pressed a 1/4 inch over on the facing. So now I should be able to wiggle my, wait, that's the outside, so it's going this way. Wiggle that in like that, and now I can top stitch this down. So I'm going to top stitch down the edge of my facing, but then I'm also going to take my zipper foot and top stitch right next to that bone so that this is held in really tight and doesn't wiggle around. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just top stitch down the edge of my facing, and you'll see that I'm pulling really tight to make sure that the facing is all the way over as far as it can go. And I'm sewing just right on the edge of that fold. Let's get this pulled all the way over. Lock that stitch in. Okay, so there's that. But now you can see how this is kind of loose. So I'm gonna swap out my presser feet. Zipper foot. And let's get my needle all the way over. So now I can put my zipper foot right up next to that. Gotta move that over just a little bit. There we go. Make sure I don't hit my bone. And I'm snugged right up next to the bone. And I'm pulling the loop out to make sure it's all the way out. Just continue past the end. A little back tack right here. Okay, and you can see that looks nice and clean and the bone's in there really tight. It's not going to wiggle at all. Now we're going to do the button side, and I'm going to use the grid here on my my mat to like really center it. So you want the buttons to be, when it's finished, to be on closer to the edge. You'll see they're not centered on the bone. You want this to be closer to the edge, not that way. But that means I have to flip this over and get them closer to the edge so they will match up. And this is the scary part, where you actually have to like poke a hole in your fabric to get the buttons to come through. But I have figured out a pretty good way to get these just right. So I've got some chalk here, and I'm gonna try and get some chalk on the button. Let's see if I can get some on there. Yep. Now I'm gonna center it. That looks good. And press down. And yep, I have managed to mark exactly where I'm gonna poke holes. Let's just double check it. Could be a little closer to the edge, so I'm gonna mark it again here. But I got the spacing right. Yep, that looks good to me. So let's see if I have an awl. So here's my awl. This is from the beautiful Victorian sewing sets that we sell. So pretty. I'm just gonna poke that hole right there. And do another one right here. And another one right here. You don't want to poke them too big, because what you want to do is actually move the threads aside so that when you wiggle your button in, the hole will actually close around it. This takes a little muscle. Oh, come on, baby, get in there. But there we go. See how that one has popped in, and the fabric is actually closed around it. So let's get the next one. Come on. There we go, that one's on. Gotta open this one a little bit more. Okay, those are in. So now I can fold this over, and I'm probably gonna just stitch the edge down, and then I'm gonna go in and use my zipper foot again. This one's gonna be a little more challenging because it's kind of hard to get in there, but let's give it a try. I actually decided I'm gonna zipper foot it first. Let's get the important part done. Come on. Let's see if I can get right up next to that. Ooh, man, that's squirrely. This one doesn't have to be quite as tight as the other one because the buttons are actually holding it in already. The challenge with this is that the buttons get caught on your needle plate, so you really gotta keep it tilted up. Come on, honey. And because I'm tilting it up, I can't get really close because it's catching on the side of my zipper foot. So I guess I'm just gonna have to live with it, being just right on the edge of the facing. Usually you have more of a facing on this, or you're putting it in between layers of lining, but because I want this to be lightweight, I don't have that luxury. That's my button getting caught again. Yeah, this seam is not very elegant. So that's something else I'm gonna have to figure out a better way to do next time I do one of these. So I've got a pretty wobbly seam going on here. Yeah, doesn't look bad from the front. Got a little bit of a wobble right there, but it's actually not too terrible. I think I can live with it. Ta-da, front closure, done. Little bit off, maybe by 1/8 of an inch, top and bottom, doesn't matter. All right. So now the next thing I'm going to do is the center back. So I'm going to roll it 2 inches and press. Yeah, and then I'm going to try this on and see if that's going to be tight enough. Let's just try rolling it 2 inches and see. We should come up with that 15 3/4. Let's see if we do. Look at that. 15 5/8. Smaller is actually okay because corsets should be tight. They should have negative ease. I'm actually good with that. In fact, I think I might make it even a little bit smaller because I do want some compression on this. The other thing about corsets is that traditionally they do not close at the back. So I could make this as small as I want, because it's okay for it to be apart as much as 2 or 3 inches in the back. That's fine. I could put a modesty panel behind it. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. Haven't decided yet. All right, so I'm just gonna fold over twice the same amount on both center back sides, and sew those down, and then we're going to install our lacings. All right, I lied. Can't do lacings yet. Before you can do lacings, we have to put a bone in both sides of center back. Get up my bones here. So I'm going to slide one in here. And I need to get it centered. So once again, I'm going to line up on my grid. Get that bone right into the fold. And that looks centered to me. All right, so what I'm going to do is put a pin at the top and the bottom so it can't shift, theoretically. There's that one there, and this one here. That one went through well. This one, not so happy. Let's try a better pin. All right, and then put one on the other side of center back. Get it inside that casing. Line it up, get it centered. But look at that, it went in exactly right. Let's pin that up, stop it from shifting. All right, so this time, what I'm going to do is sew at the top, down the side, and around the bottom on both of these bones, to make sure that they stay really tight into this edge. Time for our zipper foot again. What did we do before zipper feet? Life would not even be possible. All right, let's get our needle set. So it's just right even with the edge of the zipper foot. Take out my pin. And I'm gonna be very careful about how this goes so I don't break my needle. Little back tack going on. Now I'm gonna pivot. Nope, too soon, need one more stitch. One more stitch. There we go. All right, now I'm at the edge of the bone, making sure it's really shoved into that fold. My zipper foot's riding just right along the edge of the bone. Stuck that extra pin in there to make sure the bone didn't get away from me. Alright, come right to the bottom edge. Maybe one more stitch. Excellent. I can pivot. Go right around the bottom of that bone. And do my little back tacks. You can see that bone is like snugged right in there the way we want it. I'm going to do that on the other side, and I'll meet you back at the table. All right, so here's my center front. There are my center back bones. Just for fun, let's try it on. Fits nice and tight with the bones almost touching in back at my underbust. It's not going to fit that way in my overbust, but that's okay. I think now is where we're going to mark where the bust gussets are going to go. Wow, this muslin is so stretchy I might not even need them. Very interesting. See, look at that. Unless I really want some push-up. I think I am going to put some boning on the side here. Interesting. All right, let's see. Let's get our grommets in so that we can really try it on. And also I need to try it on not over 14 layers of clothes because it's cold today. So let me decide. Now I can actually do grommets, or I can do buttonholes. So I'm thinking I might actually want to do buttonholes because grommets are going to be bulky and cold. Buttonholes might be the thing. So let me do a little test and see if I can make a buttonhole on this fabric. This is 1, 2, 3. This is 3 layers. So I'm going to try it on 4 layers of scrap. See if I can get a decent looking buttonhole that I'm happy with, because I'm going to have to make more. How many do I want? Let's get my design ruler here. There's the length of my bone right there. So we want the buttonholes to be on next to the bone. So probably one there. If I do them every inch, oop, that one's not right. Scratch that one out. there, there, there. And one for good measure at the bottom. All right, so that means I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, maybe 7, so 12 or 14 buttonholes. So I better be pretty darn sure that I can make that buttonhole work. All right, I'm gonna go do a test. I'll meet you back. Check it out, teeny tiny buttonhole through 4 layers of muslin, so I think I'm gonna be okay. So I'm gonna just double check my measurements on this, do all the buttonholes, and then we'll see how we do. So the thing about doing a project like this is you have to kind of just look and see how things are behaving. So I got my buttonholes in, had a little trouble lining stuff up, but finally got it right. Need to clip some threads and cut my buttonholes open, but they're there, it's good. But what I'm seeing is in order to get the buttonholes in my machine, I couldn't get close enough to that bone, but I did discover that I can slide a bone in right there. So what I think I'm going to do is add this bone in, and then I'm just going to sew at the top and the bottom to get that bone in there. I don't need to sew an extra channel because the buttonholes are going to hold that in there. Let me make sure I can get this in on this side as well. Yes, I can. Nice tight fit. Come on, baby. Get in there. I know you can. That one's a little tight. Maybe if I go from the other way. But I think it's gonna work. Yeah, a little tough getting past this one. But there, I just did. So I'm gonna get those bones lined up, because what you want to do is have your lacing pulling right against the bone. And there, see, I got it in there. So now I've got the bone on the edge, I've got another bone here, and then the lacings are right up against it, so I'll be able to pull against those lacings and get a nice good fit. Okay. By the way, if you decide you're going to do your corset like this with buttonholes, I find that the best way to open them is with an X-Acto knife, especially when they're little like this. Just get your knife in there, and once the tip goes in, then you can carefully move down the buttonhole. Try and do this with scissors and it will not go well. As soon as I got these open, then I'm gonna tack in those extra bones that I stuck in there. Here, that side's open. X-Acto knives are good things to have around anyway. Useful for a lot of different stuff. I don't recommend using them though to open your fabric to put these button throughs. The buttons through, you're much better off using an awl, because what you really want to do is rather than cutting the fabric, you just want to push those threads aside. So I don't use an X-Acto for that, but in this case I am actually cutting the fabric, so the X-Acto is perfect. There we go, those are all open. Okay, now I'm gonna tack down those extra bones that I put in, and then we're gonna lace this up and try it on and see what has to be done next. All right, so now I want to lace up the back. I've got the second bone all snugged in there and sewn down, and still like threads everywhere and all over me. Crazy. Okay, so now I'm going to lace the corset, and I'm going to do it so that the I have 2 long loops in the center so that I can tighten it myself instead of having to wait for somebody else to do it. Adding a little tape on the end of my cord so I can shove it through. There we go. And I've got the center of my cord marked with a pin, just so I know when to stop. At least I did have. Did it just fall out? No, there it is, right there, marked with a pin. And let's get this all taped up so we can lace it. Okay. Get in there, baby. There are like a million different ways to lace a corset. I'm just gonna do like standard like shoelace lacing. It's fine. All right, there's the middle. Let me pull through. There we go. So my pin is now in the middle. All right, so I'm going to keep lacing, and right about here, like in between these two, I'm going to leave 2 long loops so that I can reach around from the back and pull, and then you can just tie them and tuck them in. So much easier. Getting my shirt caught in it. And look at that. So that, well, it looks like I do need to go all the way to the top. Because see how it's like binding right there? All right, so I'm actually going to cut through my stay stitching here, go all the way to the top. So far so good though. It's actually feeling really good. I might not even need to put straps on this. I mean, it just feels great. All right, here we go. So now, instead of a fisheye, we're going to be doing a V. For now, I think what I'm going to do is just cut a piece. And I'm going to do a little guesstimating to see just how much I have to split that to make it work. Get one there, get one here. Let's be precise. I'm going to split it an inch, and we'll see if that's enough. And we'll make sure this one's an inch. Nope, not quite. Let's make it a little more. Bottom of this pinned on. All right, now we're going to try this on again. Best way to get a custom fit is fit it on you. And it looks like a little more than 1 inch on in the middle, but 1 inch on the top. So let's pin that on. And try not to pin to my shirt. No, that was a fail. Let's try that again. Nope, still got my shirt. Or I might have to take it off and guess again. But that actually is feeling like a pretty good fit. That feels comfortable because I don't feel squashed up here anymore, but I feel nice and tight here, and I feel really supported. Um, the busk is coming down right to like the top of my solar plexus, so I don't feel like the only time I feel the busk is if I'm like doing this, which we shouldn't be doing. We should be standing up straight. Um, I also want to mark. I also want to mark us. Might put a bone on the side right here. Just might do that. So let's, because that'll keep the squash from going out the side. I want the side to stay up. So let's grab a pencil and mark. If I just mark the bottom of the bone and the top of the bone, then I'll know where to fit it in between. So right there to keep the side squish from popping out. All right, so take a look at how I'm pinning the gusset in now. See, I'm not trying to make it lie flat. In fact, I'm trying to make it cup because that's what we want is a cup. So I know that has to be 1 inch apart, but I'm now spreading the rest of the gusset out so that it creates that nice little cup. Let's try it again on this side. Let's get that down there. Let's get the top edge 1 inch apart. So we know that's what works. So there's the top edge. At 1 inch. But now I'm gonna pop this. Oh, and I need to pin down the bottom. All right, so now I can pop this up. See how that's creating a little cup right there? That looks pretty good. I think I want one more pin right in there. There, see, we've got that cup going on right there. All right, so the next part is going to take some time because what I'm going to do is turn the edge of the slit under and hand tack it to this piece here. And then once I've got that done, I'm going to trim this piece here and again turn that edge under and make it look nice on the inside. And then there's the top and the bottom of my bone was right there. So I know about where to put that. And then I'm going to match that to the other side. See, and what's really cool is that my cups are matching up. It's definitely something we want. right, and so the top of the bone is right there. The bottom of the bone is right there. So what I can do there, and I can do this either on the inside or the outside, is take my piece of ribbon like this, turn it under, sew that down, and then pop my bone in there and then sew it closed. I actually think I might do that on the outside because it looks nice, looks satiny, pretty. And also because uh, that may make it more comfortable on the inside, although you will, I don't know, 601, is that going to create a lump in my clothes? I think not so much. These bones are pretty skinny. They're pretty lightweight, so I think, yeah, I might do it on the outside, and that will also cover up my marks. And then when I get that all done, then I can bind the top and bottom edges. Now, the bottom edge I could bind with the ribbon. I could just, fold it over and bind it. The top edge, I don't think I can get away with that anymore because you can see that the cup has now created a curve in the top edge. See, I've got a curve going now as opposed to a straight line on the bottom. So I'm definitely going to have to use bias at the top. So if I'm doing bias at the top, I can do bias at the bottom. And, if I want to trim this out, put any more ribbon anywhere else, I can certainly do that. Like I could run ribbon like this. See if there's any place else I could put ribbon on the back. See if there's any place else I decide I want boning besides the 2 spots on the side. But I don't know, I'm feeling like this is really going to do it. I think it's going to give me the support I want. And then I can decide if I want to put straps on or not. I don't know, I haven't decided. So I'm going to go do my hand sewing, and then we'll see you later. So last thing we were doing was putting the gussets in the top, and you can see that I have hand sewn my gusset in, and then I finished it by top stitching down some ribbon. I also tried this on and figured out where I wanted some boning, like it was crunching up a little bit in the waistband, in the waist area. So I sewed on some ribbon, inserted a bone, and then I've sewn at the top and the bottom of the bone. Same thing here in the kind of middle of the back. Sewed my ribbon down, inserted my boning, sewed the ends down, and that gave me enough support. I was considering putting a bone right here underneath the bust, but I'm looking for comfort here rather than absolute corset squeezing. So you could put that there, but I decided not to. You could infinitely bone a lot more of this, but again, I was looking for comfort, not absolute corset squeezing. Although this does fit nice and tight and give me a lot of support. Then the last thing I did, because I'm trying to see if I can wear this without straps, is I finished off the top and the bottom edge using bias. And the technique that I chose to use was sewing the bias on the back side and flipping it to the front and then top stitching it down on the outside so that I could really see where my stitching was going to be rather than flipping it the other way and doing stitch in the ditch. And that way I ended up with a really nice clean bias edge, top and bottom. And then on the top edge, I used the bias as a casing, and I put a drawstring in it so that when I put this on, I can drawstring the top edge really tight so that it's not going to drop down, it's not going to droop, and it's really going to stay on me. So here are my finished short stays. You can see they've got the nice little cups right there, and then it comes in a little bit on my rib cage. Here's the back. Got it laced up the back, and I have it I have it laced up so that I could pull it from the center, but I'm probably going to undo that because they fit really well right now, and I don't think I'm going to have to adjust that. I'm just going to be able to put it on using the busk in the front. And I've got some boning there. If I find that I need more support, I may put some more bones here. Don't know. We'll find out. Be better if I had done it earlier because you can see that the ends of the bone casing are now being covered up by the nice binding edge. Like I said, this fits really well, and I should be able to wear this under anything without straps, get lots of support, and for the girls, and also keep my back nice and straight, keep me from slouching. And I would say this is pretty darn easy to do. So if you decide you want to make one of these, we're going to put together a kit that has a 7-inch busk and 8 6-inch bones, some beautiful 100% cotton muslin, and our gorgeous French drawstring. This is linen drawstring. It's nice and strong. It's not going to come undone on you. So we'll be putting a kit together for that. We'll probably make it available in 7-inch and 8-inch. Longer than that, unless you're incredibly tall, is probably going to be just too much length, and then you're getting into like a more Victorian corset. Another fun thing about making these short stays is that you can also wear them on the outside. So we're also going to offer in our kits some really pretty fabrics like this. You can wear them underneath, or you can wear them on the outside if you like. So we'll be making these available as well. In any case, if you'd like to try one of these, just look on our website for the short stay kit, and you'll be able to use this tutorial and make one of your very own.